A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our viewers from wherever you're tuning in. Happy to have you this particular day. We're happy to have our weekly show. And on show today, we have a fantastic guest who's going to tell us who she is for the benefit of those who do not know her.
Asante sana. My name is Elvina Majiwa. My friends call me Balozi. I am a tobacco control champion and a health promotion advocate as well. And I'm glad to be here as the first guest, so I'm really happy, I'm psyched.
Thank you, Elvina, for honoring our invitation to have a conversation with us on this particular very important topic for the day. In a nutshell, why tobacco?
Why tobacco control?
Why tobacco control?
So tobacco control is, of course, very crucial. Think about it as, you've had the quote, health is wealth.
Yes.
And definitely health is wealth.
Yes.
You know, a healthy society means a productive society.
Yes.
A healthy society means people will be happier. There'll be more that people can give back to the society.
Yes.
So tobacco, on the other hand, really harms our society. It causes so much harm. It causes a lot of illnesses, economically, physically. So, I mean, there are so many harms I can talk about. But that's why tobacco control, because we want a healthy society, we want a population that's productive, we want people to be happier, and that way, I mean, we'll benefit a lot.
Thank you for that, for putting it into perspective. We know that tobacco is one of the leading killers. Statistics has it that tobacco kills about 7 to 8 million globally per year. And this compares, when compared with other diseases or other challenges that we are facing, then tobacco for sure deserves an attention from all concerned citizens. And against that, when you weigh the benefits of tobacco and against its side effects, as a tobacco control champion, are there some alternatives that you as advocates would have already thought of? If some action were to be taken to replace tobacco as a mainstay for the rural farmers.
Yes, definitely, for sure. And Dan, you're very right, because for the longest time, we used to talk about 6 million deaths that is caused by tobacco solely.
Yes.
And that was around maybe 4 years ago.
Yes.
Right now, we're talking about 8 million deaths globally. And that's so much. That's just too many. And you see the statistics keep increasing.
Yes.
So is it that we, the tobacco control advocates, are not doing much? I don't think so. It's because the tobacco industry keeps innovating ways. You'll see them coming up with very innovative products. Over time, they come up with products that they call less harmful, but the fact is they're very harmful.
Thank you. Is your frustration from the point of a non-state actor? Would you say that from the state actor point, from the government perspective, has the government done much to support that campaign, or you would say frustrations are still coming from within and even from within the industry?
Let me talk about Kenya first. So in Kenya, the government is doing quite well. I mean, I've seen what NACADA has been doing, and I applaud them completely and support them. We've had a law that's in place that banned the use of shisha, for example. There have been many restaurants, clubs, hotels that are going against this law by promoting and selling shisha. And it's because there's not much awareness about it having been banned, or maybe it's just negligence. So that's one. There's been a crackdown on shisha pubs. There's also the use of, the government is really doing much in implementing the law that already exists. Actually, Kenya has one of the strongest laws, tobacco control regulations that exist. It's just the implementation bit that's a problem. Something I've also noticed is the sale of single stick. So it's illegal for shop owners to sell one cigarette like this. And it's not being implemented effectively. So, yes, the government is doing much, I can say, but there's much more that can be done, especially in collaboration with civil society and other actors as well.
Much more that can be done by non-state actors. In brief, what are some of the two things that you think from a non-state actor's perspective if they were to be done right, it would be the right step towards addressing the challenges bedeviling the sector with respect from a tobacco control perspective. Yes.
Yeah, so top two things that can be done. Top of my mind is collaboration. Collaboration is very, very critical in tobacco control, because tobacco control should be approached as a holistic agenda, not just that one is for health people. Health people should talk about it, or just finance people, because you talked about what it brings into the economy, which is another conversation, because it really takes away so much from our economy. Imagine a farmer putting in the work and the industry taking 3 times. So it's not beneficial at all, not to the farmer, not to the that whole supply chain. No one really benefits apart from the industry. Yeah, so it takes away so much. Collaboration, and another thing that can be done is implementation of the law.
When you say collaboration, please put it into context. Collaboration between who and who? The farmer, the producer, the industry players, the government, and please, for the benefit of our viewers, you can put it in context. When you say collaboration, please unpack it.
Okay. Yeah. So when we're doing tobacco control, we emphasize collaboration between civil society organizations that promote public health. Strictly the ones that promote public health and well-being of people. We do not collaborate at all with the industry, because the tobacco industry, because we've seen instances where they want us to collaborate with them. Seemingly they want to do CSR activities, but the fact is that we don't collaborate with them. And the only instance where we can sit down as public health advocates in the industry is when there's a third party. Is when there's a third party, and it should be very open and transparent. Because we've seen instances where they want to collaborate with people and they compromise public health. Yeah. So even their CSR initiatives are not welcome, because we don't know the intent that the industry has. So collaboration here is one, globally. Let's borrow best practices that other countries are doing.
Some of them include what?
Some of them include, for example, in China, which is a tobacco growing country, they have alternatives. So for example, they have growth of mushrooms. And for growth of mushrooms, you don't need so much space. So the areas where they used to grow tobacco, they've enclosed them very well, and they're growing mushrooms indoors. So that's very innovative. It's something that we should borrow.
So that helps in providing an alternative to the farmer who depended on tobacco as a mainstay. And therefore also help in addressing the health effects that come with tobacco. Nice, sounds interesting.
So collaboration, it would be very good.
Very good. You've spoken to the fact that Kenya is a country that we have a lot of regulations and policies in place within the industry, but the issue is the issue of implementation. Does it speak for want of awareness among the consumers and amongst the users within the industry?
Definitely. The consumers, should be aware of the harmful effects that tobacco causes. Don't think about it in this way. You see your body, your full body, from your hair to your feet. Tobacco affects all parts. When we talk about this 8 million deaths, from your hair cancer, eye, mouth, throat, lip cancer, the esophagus, every single part of your body, the stomach cancers and all those harmful effects. So they definitely needs awareness. People need to be more aware of the effects. And this is also what the tobacco industry doesn't want people to know. Second-hand person who is around that smoker, to the economy at large.
The one we call passive smoker.
We call, the second-hand smoker. The effect is just not to the individual, it's also to those around them. So definitely awareness. You've talked about stricter regulations. And so we really have to work together to eliminate this vice.
I hear you speaking heavily on collaboration and awareness to the extent that we need to up our game on having conversation around awareness with the practitioners within the industry. Could you speak more closely to the farmer? Because when you go to rural parts of this country, for instance, whether it is in Migori County and Kuria, where tobacco farming is one of the mainstays there, do you think they will hear you when you tell them that it's about time that we replace their economic activity with something else? And how best should the government and all players that are very enthusiastic about tobacco control approach this issue?
Yeah, definitely it should be approached even to the farmers. Remember, we love the farmers. We don't discriminate the farmers. We really love the farmers, and we want them to be, one, productive, and we also want them to love what they're doing. You know, farmers should really enjoy the farming that they're doing. But what I've noticed, okay, so earlier this year, we had a documentary that was aired, and the documentary was entitled Tobacco Slaves. And it was interesting to see farmers from Migori being a slave to their labor, the work that they should be loving.
Yes.
And this is mainly because they don't profit at all. They put in, one, the industry takes almost three times more.
What they put in.
Imagine,
Yes.
almost 3 times more. In addition to that, they are prone to get, there's this illness called the green leaf sickness. And it's from those who
Plucking.
Yes, pluck the tobacco, harvest it, and the
Basically handling.
Yes, the handling of it causes
Post-harvest handling.
yes, dire diseases. And also something about tobacco control advocates is that maybe many of us are high level and do policy work and don't necessarily go to the ground to see what's happening.
Yes.
So I'd encourage us to do that. Go to the hospitals, go to the farms. Even in Bungoma, you'd see barely any trees.
Yes.
Done literally, there are no trees. And you wonder, is this a desert area? No.
Yes.
It's because once tobacco has been planted, no other crop will do well, none at all.
In that particular
In that particular area.
Yes.
Yeah, because it pollutes the ground itself.
Other than polluting the ground, would you say there's a nexus between tobacco growing or tobacco farming and deforestation? Because in most those rural areas, they use firewood to burn those tobacco. So would you say by addressing tobacco control perspective, it also help in increasing tree cover in the country as another way of looking at it?
Definitely. Definitely. You know, climate change is a present reality right now, and we're really trying to combat that. And tobacco is one of the crops that really increases, the devastating effects because, you know, deforestation. In addition, also there's the aspect of the filters. You know, filters, the most polluted item on this planet, guess is what? The most littered item. And they have filters that, you know, are plastic. And, you know, we're trying to eliminate plastic. There's a protocol that that's going to be spoken about elimination of plastics, especially single-use plastics. So, yes, it does affect the environment. And
do I hear you to be saying that not only does tobacco have health challenges, issues, but also it's the challenges coming with tobacco spans to even include environmental. Tobacco, from what I hear you submitting, is that this collaboration could be in different facets. One, collaboration with the farmers, who all they know is that this is their main economic mainstay. And then from the government, which is the regulator point of view. And then there's also the manufacturers. Like for instance, we have the 2 leading tobacco farms, whom you say that the farmer puts in a lot of effort into it, but the players within the industry takes 3 times that. In terms of support, now from a tobacco control perspective, would you say there is significant support coming from that particular corner, from the leading manufacturers of tobacco?
They can never support our cause. They can definitely never ever support our cause.
Would you wish them to support the cause?
Not at all. This is the reason. The tobacco industry is in it for profits, and that's the language they speak. Profits, full stop. They use several tactics to compromise public health. You'll see them threatening tobacco control advocates with lawsuits.
Yes.
I've seen it myself. You know,
Yes.
they really threaten with lawsuits and, oh, we're going to sue you, we are going to do this. And, you know, they compromise in that way.
Yes.
They also lie a lot.
Yes.
We've seen the effects that this products have. For example, the e-cigarettes.
Yes.
We've seen the nicotine pouches. Last year, remember there was Velo, a conversation about Velo, and people were talking about the effects that it has. It causes nausea, it causes heartburn, and you know, openly.
Yes.
But the industry won't ever say that, and that's why we push for, you know, packaging that should have warning labels.
Yes.
Such as this consumer is consuming this product, they're aware that this product causes cancer. This product causes this disease.
Talk of well-labeled packages that sends a message to the consumer. But you and I know that how many times have been told that smoking is harmful to your health, and it's well written there.
Yeah.
But they still go ahead and buy cigarettes. Earlier on, you spoke to the issue of this industry is changing in a dynamic way, and from time to time they even come up with products that they call less harmful.
Yes.
Is that in an attempt to beat the regulations and continue pursuing their profit agenda, or are we being too harsh to the industry, while in effect, in actual sense, this product are actually less harmful? Is that the case?
Let me speak first to the packaging.
Yes.
So you're right, it's not enough to have words written.
Yes.
This product causes cancer. What we want as tobacco control advocates is pictorial warnings as well.
Yes.
So let them put how the lung will look, so that you look at
package.
it. Yes, on the package.
Yes.
We are halfway there in that form of regulation, but there are other countries doing so well. They have, you know, 70% of the pack has the warning. It's not enough for us to have the words. Let's have also the pictures.
Yes.
So that as the consumer, you can see how your leg will look after maybe 1 year.
Yes.
Yeah. How damaged your heart will be.
Yes.
Your eyes, your lungs, you know. Regarding the tobacco industry,
coming up with products that they want us to, innovative ways of remaining in the business.
Yes. So what we've noticed is they have, you know, first they lure young people.
Yes.
Because they know that this will be a long-term user. Because the older people, not so much.
Yes.
So they always want a new crop of users.
Yes.
They can go as far as even selling to people who are under 18
yes.
by packaging. So you see this maybe vapes, for example, that are cherry flavor. Really? You know, or strawberry flavor, vanilla. I mean, it's really not right what the tobacco industry is doing. The other thing is, yes, it's a form of trying to go around the regulations.
The business is cutting around the regulations.
Exactly.
While at the same time remaining within their purview of profit maximization.
Thank you. Exactly. For example, they do that. A while back, here in Kenya, products came in, and they came in as electronic products, as opposed to tobacco products, because they know the tax rate is higher. So I mean, they really go around the law in some instances.
Okay. You've spoken well, and you've helped in bringing up the tax aspect. We know the government yearly levies excise duty on what we call sin tax on the consumption of products that the government would want to discourage. Would you say it's about time that the government consider increasing the excise tax on tobacco?
Yes, it's important. It's good you've mentioned that annually it keeps increasing.
Yes.
Interesting enough, it has not increased for tobacco products, and that's what we are pushing for.
Okay.
That's what I personally want, that tobacco products should be taxed heavily. I mean, very heavily. Why are we taxing bread? Then why are we taxing milk and bread? You know, the things that are nutritious to us, the things that we actually need, is what the Kenyan government wants to tax. No? Let's tax alcohol. Let's tax tobacco products heavily. Yes, because I mean, they should pay.
So are you by any way accusing the government of not doing enough to support this call? Because it's your submission that Ideally, through the Finance Act, the government usually reviews tax measures as a way of raising revenue. And one of the taxes is the sin tax, also known as excise duty, which the government uses to impose on products that are ideally whose consumption is meant to be discouraged. So the fact that the sin tax on tobacco has not been reviewed upwards annually is something that potentially attracts blame and criticism on the part of the government that they're not doing enough to support tobacco control advocacy. Is that your submission?
They can do better. They can do better. They can do way better because increasing tobacco taxes, one, results in a reduction in consumption.
Yes.
Definitely there's reduction in consumption. There are people who believe, the blame will be, the amount will be pushed to the user.
Yes.
But the truth is that there'll definitely be a reduction in consumption.
Yes.
The industry will be forced to pay.
Yes.
And this money, ideally, for me, it should go to the health sector.
Yes.
To help treat all these illnesses that it has caused.
So do I get to be saying that in addition to levying excise duty on tobacco, the revenue that accrues from that tax should ideally be ring-fenced and sent to the health sector to address the challenges that have been occasioned by tobacco on the health sector?
Yes, yes. We know that the cost of treating cancer, especially in Kenya, is very expensive. Yeah, people even go to the extent of going to India or going to other countries for treatment because the burden is too heavy. Yes. And that's how the industry can come in.
Yes.
Yeah. It can be taxed very heavily. Yes. Which is something this year I'm really, my eyes on the bills to see how there'll be.
So from a tobacco control perspective, have you considered proposing an amendment to the law so that there is deliberate action by the government to ensure that such revenue are ring-fenced and added into the budget of the health sector? Because that ring-fencing can only be done through a regulation, through an act of parliament. Because ideally, it's a normal budgeting process. But resources that have been ring-fenced through the law are meant to deliver exactly that particular objective. So is this something that you've been considering, or is this something that with the invitation, you, as the actors within this space, you are willing to consider having a conversation through lobbying and public participation with the government to ensure that resources, one, the tax on tobacco is reviewed in a prohibitively way, and such resources that accrue from such taxation are ring-fenced to ensure that such resources are channeled to the health sector in a manner that helps in strengthening or supporting the sector to address the challenges that have been occasioned by the tobacco? Is this something that you have had a conversation about from a perspective of tobacco control actors, or is this something that is an invitation you are willing to welcome?
You've even given us very good recommendations, very, very strong recommendations. So yes, it's a conversation actually that's currently ongoing. It's one that has been, in the background of, how can we incorporate such measers into the law? Because, when policy changes a lot, it trickles down. And it should start from the top. So those conversations are ongoing. And in 5 months, talk to me. We'll have maybe progress. Yes,
we'll
definitely.
Be here to invite you and have a further conversation.
Yes, please.
Someone who's been, from an observer perspective, a lot of tobacco control advocacy is centrally placed, if I would say. A lot happens in Nairobi. Have you considered taking your advocacy within the periphery, the counties, particularly having conversations that are sensitive to the plight of the farmers who might not understand all these jargonistics you're putting across in light of furthering your objective as a tobacco control actor?
Yes, definitely we want to go beyond the borders. Especially, the counties that border our neighbors, because there's also the aspect of illicit
proliferations.
Those, illicit cigarettes coming in. in Kenya, one, they have to be labeled.
Yes.
So there are those ones that we've seen that, don't have the warning labels, don't have pictorial health warnings, and they're still making their way in illegally.
Yes.
So yes, we're having conversations with those counties around the border. There was a lot of activity in Migori last year, Bungoma as well, Mombasa, the coastal region. So, people are doing research. We want to do also, there are several organizations doing research, and they'll publish their reports on the prevalence, of tobacco use, especially among the younger generation.
Okay.
So it's one that's just not central to Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah. So tobacco control is the whole of Kenya should be involved in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
A while ago, you alluded to the fact that the government should potentially consider reviewing excess duty upwards prohibitively, for want of a better word, to discourage consumption of tobacco. Don't you think in discouraging consumption through the legal process, you might invite some challenges again, in the sense that for tobacco smokers who find it difficult to afford tobacco, they'll resort to some other harmful or some other illegal products to satisfy the thirst that they have. Because I'll give an example from my village when I was young. There is this plant called Lantana camara. I don't know what it's called in simple English. That's its biological name. When it's dried and you rub it on your palms, it looks more of tobacco. And then they roll it on newspaper and then sniff it. And that is more dangerous than even tobacco itself. So don't you think, how do you balance between wanting the government to support advocacy through reviewing the tax upwards to discourage consumption, and opening a floodgate of people looking for alternatives that would be severely harmful to them? So how, from a control perspective, how are you going to balance this?
I'll emphasize again with what we had mentioned earlier, collaboration.
Yes.
So working with doctors in this. There are medical ways that help smokers to quit smoking. And they will always advise us further on how to do it, how to go about it. And that's one key area. We also work a lot with, psychologists, psychiatrists, because, the consumption of tobacco causes these other, mental health problems and all other effects. So working with those people.
Okay.
Regarding the these smokers moving to other products, we have mechanisms in place that also regulate those harmful products.
Yes.
In Kenya, actually around the world, tobacco is legal. It's a legal product.
Yes.
But what we need to do is regulate it thoroughly.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. As we draw towards the last part of this show, recently some of us who've been following you had the rare privilege of seeing you in the COP10 meeting in Panama City. And Kenya was not left behind. It was led by a powerful delegation of the PS for standards and professional standards and professional bodies. PS Mudhoni. What was the meeting all about, and what was Kenya's agenda in the meeting?
So for those who may not know what COP is Conference of Parties. And this is where countries who are signatory to the FCTC, which is the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control,
2005.
Yes, gather to speak about what they've done so far and what they could do. So they give recommendations and they have discussions around how to better the implementation of that framework that they signed onto. So yes, this year it was held in Panama City, Panama, and we were, very present. We really represented well. They spoke a lot on the taxation bit, about protecting young people from the harms that tobacco causes, and I really liked that submission because the emphasis was on young people.
Yes,
we want a generation that does not use these tobacco products.
Yes.
For those who use, we're encouraging them to quit. But for those who've never used, we don't want them to even start in the first place. Apart from that, we also We talked about, yes, collaboration, partnerships, in eradicating tobacco. And this year I want to welcome you. We have World No Tobacco Day, which is 31st of March.
Yes.
And is it May, 31st May? And we're talking about protecting children,
Yes.
yeah, from the harms that tobacco causes.
Yes.
So we're welcoming you to, support that cause. Yes, in Panama, we also talked about the Panama Declaration, which calls for, protection of public health.
Yes.
Which calls for, all stakeholders to get involved in tobacco control efforts. Just to strengthen our societies.
Thank you so much. On behalf of The Point, we welcome the invitation and we'll be there to support in our little way. In 2 seconds as we wrap up, would you say there's hope?
Definitely, 100% there's hope. Watch this space and join us if you can, especially, online. Follow us, follow what we're doing, support our cause. There's hope. I personally desire for a tobacco-free Africa, which is a dream that can be a reality, and we are on our way there. We are definitely on our way there. Yeah, so watch this space.
To paraphrase the statement made by the late president of Tanzania, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, during the famous Arusha Declaration, he said these words, and I want to restate them in the version they were stated in Swahili. Mwalimu said, nia ipo, sababu zipo, na uwezo upo. So if I get what my guest is saying today, that there is hope, the hope is there, the intention is there, and the efforts to achieve this is there. On behalf of the entire team that made this production possible, we wish to thank you so much sincerely and thank our guest, Elvina. And we are happy and proud with the work we are doing. Continue doing that work, and it's our sincere belief that ultimately we will go out there and make many people rally behind this cause. Otherwise, thank you so much for honoring our invitation to be part of this production. On behalf of the entire team at The Point, we're very grateful and happy to host you some other time again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.